Hello, and welcome to another episode of Funjelah. On this episode today, we have my friend LeeAnn Kreischer. Some of you may know LeeAnn as Bert Kreischer's wife. She is also the woman behind his entire empire. She runs the company, the business, all their podcasts, his specials she produces, she runs the festivals, like everything. She does everything. She is a rock star. She also hosts her own podcast called Wife of the Party, which to me is the most clever name given the context, if you know who her husband is. I've been a guest on her podcast multiple times, and this is my first time having her on my podcast. We get into our MADtitudes and gratitudes. We talk about her MADtitude of women's health not being studied enough. Why do we not know enough about menopause, perimenopause, our hormones, like all of that? Get with it. What's going on? We talk about that. We talk about her gratitudes for her upbringing and her being a high school cheerleader, driving a tow truck, going to pick up cars in her little cheerleading outfit, and living in a log cabin and running the forest with no shoes on, and just a feral human being. A very unique childhood, and we hear all about it and her gratitude for that, as well as a bunch of other things. We just had a really great conversation. Loved it. I hope you guys love it as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave us a review. If you're loving this podcast, tell everybody about it. Leave us a review because that really does help. Also, don't forget, I am on tour. Hello. My big tour, the family reunion tour. Get your tickets, Anjelah.com. Go to my website to get the tickets. There's a lot of scalper sites out there, so just go to Anjelah.com. Get your tickets for the family reunion tour. Some cities are already sold out, so go ahead and check. And also, if you want to leave us a voicemail message and tell us what you are grateful for, this is the phone number. Danielle, hit them.
747-300-5380.
You heard it right here. So enjoy this episode of Funjelah. I love your cutie cash outfit. It's like cash, but it's still dazzled up with your like bracelets and stuff. I love it.
My rad stack.
And your shirt is like cute. Like it has fun sleeves and like a fun neckline.
Thank you.
I like you.
And it's still a sweatshirt. It's a sweatshirt.
I know. I love that.
Me too.
I think that's what I need to do, is invest more in casual clothes that still have like an element of style to them, because I walk that line of just homeless, and you know what I mean? Like it's
But you know, when you get to a certain age, you can't be sloppy anymore.
Yeah.
Like if you get sloppy, once I hit like 50, I went, oh, I look actually really bad if I don't put an effort in. I could phone it in until I hit 50.
Did you have somebody help you with effort, or you naturally had it, like with what to do and how to dress and stuff?
Sort of. I sort of had help. Bert's sister is really kind of dresses her body well.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, and she and I are similar shape size. So I started watching her a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And then I started saying to her, I'm not feeling confident in what I look like.
Girl.
And then she would go, just send me pictures of what you're thinking and I'll help you figure it out.
Okay.
So I'd like get dressed, send her a picture in my full length mirror, and she'd go, wrong shoes. And I go, oh, okay.
And like help you adjust.
Yes. Help me
That's good.
learn.
Yeah.
So I got help. It wasn't professional help, but it was, friend.
Yeah. I recently downloaded an app. I got suckered in, I'll be honest. It was on Instagram. It was an Instagram ad. But it was like voted, best whatever in all these different magazines. And I was like, well, I know those magazines. And they're saying it's the best, so I'll do it. Haven't used it yet, but I downloaded it in a very insecure moment of, I don't know how to dress. I don't know what I'm wearing.
What does the app do?
It helps style you. Like you give it like your vibe, your body type. What do you lean more towards? Femininity, towards business, towards whatever it is, and you answer a bunch of questions, and then they set you up with a stylist that you'll do like a Zoom call with or something. But then there's also like where they send you a box of clothes based on what you've said.
That's
you
cool.
know? I haven't even tried it yet. I really just got suckered in from the ad, and I was like, I need help. Yes, download. How much? Okay.
Is it Newly?
No.
Stitch Fix?
No, there's
I feel like those are
an
similar.
Uli in it, but
I do Stitch Fix.
Yeah.
oh,
And I have
what's
to-
Stitch Fix? Did I download the wrong one?
It's the same kind of vibe, I think.
Lumi is this one.
Oh, Lumi. Oh, I haven't heard that one.
Me neither.
Lumi.
Oh, interesting.
Look
Well, come on
unique.
up.
Make impressions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Stitch Fix is like a subscription where they send you 5 items. You keep what you want. You send back what you don't want. It's like $20
Oh, I need to
if
do
you
that.
don't keep anything. And the reason I did it was because when I started my podcast, I was like, I don't want to wear the same shirt over and over again. I need shirts all once a week. I need a new shirt.
Yeah.
I don't like to shop. And so I was like, I'm just going to tell them to just send me like tops, jackets, shirts,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. And I started with Stitch Fix probably 5 years ago. And that, I guess I hadn't really thought about it.
Bonzo is in love with you. Sir,
Aw,
I need you to calm down right now. He was like staring at you while you were talking. I'm like, he is madly in love.
Oh, he's so sweet.
Yeah.
He's an angel.
Listen, sit down. Relax.
Yeah,
Relax,
I'm part of
buddy.
it too. Look at my style with my amazing hanky on my neck.
That's yeah. He has
So
he has more
handsome.
style than I do.
So cute.
I need to try that. What you're talking about?
Yeah, it was. Well, it's kind of fun to me because I hate shopping, but I do like clothes.
Yeah.
I just like.
Yeah.
I get in a store and I go, "This looks terrible on me."
Yep.
Or I don't know what to take off the
I'm
rack.
overwhelmed.
Me too, totally. So with Stitch Fix, they have like I think I had to put my actual measurements in,
Okay.
and then they have a stylist who goes, "Oh, okay, this is," and you
This is
say,
what
"This
will
is
look
my
good."
vibe," and then they send you stuff that looks good, and I guarantee you, there's 3 things in each box that I never would have picked for myself, and at least 2 of them look surprisingly great.
Oh,
Like I'll put it on and
need
go,
to try
"Wow."
You should. Yeah.
Even today, we have a podcast text chain, and I sent a picture of this sweater. I go, have I worn this already on an episode? I need help. I don't remember anymore, but I need to do that. That's a good idea. I'm gonna disconnect this app I just bought. Just kidding.
Well, I bet it's the same.
Yeah, I gotta look through it. I don't even know what
Also,
it fully
it could be
offers.
worth trying both because what if one company understands you more than the other?
Yeah.
You don't know.
Yeah.
So,
I got a 30-day get your money back if you don't like us
Yeah,
type
try it.
situation.
That's
I gotta
good.
do that.
yeah.
And too, it depends on your like taste in clothes because I'm not like I'm gonna pay $400 for a shirt. That
Nope.
is not my jam.
Ew, no, me either.
No, I'm like $50 is pretty much my sweet spot. I'll give
Yeah.
a little more if it's something
Yeah, yeah,
great,
yeah.
but I'm cool with $20 also.
I think me and you are right here.
yeah, same time.
I did a photo shoot recently, and there was a T-shirt that I tried on. It wasn't gonna work for the photo shoot, but I was like, "Ooh, but I like it. It fits well. Like this is like the perfect little T-shirt." And then, oddly enough, the tag inside said "perfect T-shirt" or something, and I was
Perfect
like, "Oh
white
my god,
tee.
that's right." And then I was like, asked the stylist. I was like, because you can keep what you want to keep, and I was like, I want to keep this shirt. How much was it? In my brain, I'm like, I bet you this thin material little plain T-shirt probably like $50. I'm gonna be so mad. I'm paying $50 for a stupid T-shirt, but I like it so much I'm gonna get it. So I was like, how much is this one? She's like, I think it was like $120. I said, you're out of your mind.
I know.
Get this shirt off of me. I'm mad now. I was mad.
Yes, it's so stupid. It's a T-shirt.
Yeah.
Come on.
Get out of here.
What are we doing?
Uh-huh.
It's so dumb. Yes, I know that brand. It's called Perfect White Tee, I think.
Yeah.
And the T-shirts are fantastic.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what they do, but
How did they get so? It was the best neckline. It fit good. I was like, oh yes, thank you. I've been looking for you all my life.
and they look amazing. I mean, I put it on and transformed into Julia Roberts. I added like 4 inches to height. I dropped 40 pounds. I was gorgeous, and it was just the T-shirt. So
And that's why they charge $120.
exactly,
So
They're like, we got you.
Exactly.
We got you.
yeah, they suckered me in.
exactly.
Maybe too because we both kind of come from reading your bio. I learned so much about you reading your bio.
I wrote my bio myself
It's
as a joke.
Amazing.
I wrote it as a joke because someone said, "Oh, you need a bio," and I went, "For me? Why do you need a bio for me?" Okay, I'll give you a bio.
It was so good. I learned so much about you, but it was so entertaining. I was so into read. I wanted to read more of your bio. I wanted it to be your book. I was like, I need to know more and written in this way. It was so funny.
Thank you.
It was so good. I was like, I need a bio like this. I'm gonna have LeeAnn write my bio now. But okay, on the podcast we do Maditudes and Gratitudes, but I just had so many questions from your bio that I learned because I've known you for a long time, but I feel like I'm just now getting to like actually know you, you know, because like I've known you through Bert and just knowing about you. But now I'm starting to get to know you as a person, as a friend, and I didn't know your upbringing of bouncing around different trailer parks. Is that what it was? And then can you tell me a little bit about it?
I made it simple in my bio, actually. Yeah, my parents divorced when I was 7, and my mom got custody of me, moved me to downtown Atlanta in the gay community. And then my dad moved from the house that he and my mom rented into just like trailer park after trailer park.
Wow.
Until he bought a 250-year-old log cabin with 2 other bachelors.
Wow.
So I either lived in the gay community with my mom in downtown Atlanta with no other children in the gay community. It was me.
Oh my goodness.
Or I lived with my dad and his 2 bachelor roommates either in a trailer park or in this log cabin. Log cabin had no heat. It was like a log cabin. It was freezing. It was like big holes in the wall. It was a bachelor pad. You know, they were like perpetually camping, and they just threw a little girl in the mix.
No way.
And I lived with him like May to September every year.
Oh.
And then saw him every other weekend. So I lived there for a bit. But then, you know, he would go from house to a trailer park, and then we'd go. He tried to sell that log cabin. We lived in another trailer park, and then we went from that trailer park to another trailer park, and then he decided to build a house, and while we were building the house, we lived in another trailer park.
Wow. And how old are you?
It started at 7.
Whoa.
And then went until, I don't know, he and I built a house. He and I built a house from the ground up, which sounds ridiculous because I'm like a girl, but we did. We didn't put the roof on, and we didn't run electricity, but we did pretty much everything else.
Wow.
Like after school and on weekends when I was in high school.
What an after school project you had.
Yeah, it was intense. I'd come home from cheerleader practice and build a house.
And you drove a tow truck, you said.
I did. My dad had a mechanic shop. He was an auto mechanic. And from the time I was really little, like 2 or 3 years old, he would pick me up for like wrecker trips, and tow truck and rollback trips. So I had been running a wrecker and a rollback since I was probably like 6.
Oh my goodness.
And so when I got my driver's license, of course I can pick people up in the tow truck. I've been doing everything but driving the tow truck my whole life. So yeah, it was pretty funny. I was a cheerleader. And I'd get off cheerleader practice, and I'd work for my dad. I like kept all his books for the shop. I ran parts for him, and I ran his tow truck. So when someone had a tow truck call, I'd just like in my little cheerleader outfit, hop in the tow truck, go pick it up. And, you know, the funniest
Imagine
thing,
a little cheerleader high schooler coming to pick up your car. Is this a prank?
Oh, so many of those old guys were like, "Where's your daddy?" And I go, "He's at the shop." Well, who's hooking up the car? Well, I am. No. Yeah, I am. Step aside.
Yeah.
Hook that shit up. Hook that car up and take it to the shop.
Unreal.
You know? I didn't like backing the tow truck up with the car on it.
Sure.
So I would just get it to my daddy and go, "Here you go." And let him do it. So, but yeah, I did his rollback. He had a rollback, which is a kind of like flatbed car holder that you kind of roll down and you can pull a car up onto. And then I had the wrecker where you kind of pick up the front 2 tires and drive off. I can do both.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. It was fun. It was so fun to grow up like that.
And
yeah, I loved it.
That's great.
It was awesome.
That's amazing. And there's guys out there, full-grown men, who can't even change a tire.
No,
I'm married to one. He can't do anything. Nothing. When we were first married, he used to say, you have got to stop fixing things in the house. It is so emasculating. And I'm like, dude, well, then who's going to fix it?
Yeah.
I mean, we're broke. We can't afford to call a plumber.
Uh-huh.
I can do this.
Wow.
You cannot. So I'm not sure how this is a problem.
Yeah.
But yeah, for many years, he would say, you've got to stop doing that.
We need to struggle. Okay.
No, I'm like, I don't understand. Okay.
That's so wild and so cool to hear, like, how many different, childhoods. People have such a different upbringing, different, just all your upbringing. Like, I played a tow truck driver once.
You did?
In a movie called Our Family Wedding, and I worked for my dad's company in the movie, and I'm running the tow truck. And I remember thinking in the movie, like, you never see a young girl, because I was young in that movie. I was in my 20s when I filmed it, and like a young petite thing jumping off the tow truck, putting on the gloves, just like manhandling these cars. And I'm like, this is so unrealistic, but I love it. Like, it's great. And then here you are. This was actually your real life in a cheerleader outfit.
It was pretty funny. Yeah, it was.
How long did you do that?
All through high school.
Whoa.
And then when I went away to college, I wasn't at my dad's anymore. But
is your dad still with us?
oh yeah. Oh, yeah.
cool.
He's awesome. He's
Yeah.
the best. Yeah. He's still in my hometown. Everybody's still in my hometown. A little 1,600 people. He never left my hometown. He lived there. Like, the house we built was across the street from his parents. So
What does your dad, and this is such a like layered question, but what does your dad think about your life now? Like, from how you guys grew up to, like, you run a very successful company, and your husband, Bert Kreischer, is one of the most successful comedians out there, and he is not just doing stand-up, like, he's doing movies. You guys have your festival, you have just your shows, and you run it all, and you guys just have this incredible empire, and you're doing so well with all the hard work. It didn't come overnight, and it didn't come easy, but the life that you live now is drastically different from the girl who was bouncing around to different trailer parks and having to drive a tow truck and all of that. How does your dad process your life now?
that's a really good question. I think it's been an interesting journey with my dad. My dad and I have always been very close. We've never not been close. But, growing up super blue collar, there is definitely a point of view that wealth is bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, wealth is evil.
Mm-hmm.
A certain level of success, it's got to be ill-begotten.
That's right.
There's no way that you did that honestly, fairly, kindly, with generosity, and with care, and
of the Lord.
And yes, and of the Lord, and to cause no harm.
Yeah.
There's no way. I mean,
Yeah.
that is the mentality that I was raised in, and I think I've always been. I never questioned authority per se, but I questioned thought processes. Right? Always, my whole life, I'd go, well, I don't understand racism. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
I put my pants on, so do you.
Mhm.
What? I don't understand. And I grew up in the deep South, where
Wow.
racism is everywhere.
Yeah.
I never saw someone of a race other than black or white until I was very old, because that's
Wow.
all that's there.
Yeah.
Never met a Jewish person. It's like very small, insulated. But I remember being really young going, I don't understand why people act like that.
Yeah.
And I don't get it. So I think I started questioning, well, why can't you be
Mm-hmm.
completely fulfilled in your life? I never, and I don't know that Bert ever went, we're going to be rich.
Uh-huh.
We just went, we would like to do the very best at what we're doing all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and to take care of the people on our team
Yeah.
and in our lives as we go.
Yeah.
That's the intention always. And I used to pray, I've always prayed, I used to pray for security. I never prayed for wealth. I never actually really prayed
Wow.
for abundance. I prayed for security. I was like, I just don't want to have to
Interesting.
worry
Yeah.
about health care. I don't want to have to worry about my dad, who has
Yeah.
no retirement fund. His retirement fund was 20 big block Chevy engines that burned in a fire. So we have no retirement fund there.
Wow.
So I just wanted that peace of mind. So And I think Bert's goal was pretty similar to just have that kind of like, I don't want to have to worry about that, whatever that looks like.
Yeah.
And I've always been like, God will show me what that looks like. I don't need to say what that looks like because who knows better than he does?
Okay.
I don't. So let's just see what shows up. I'm going to ask for security. I'm going to ask to feel really safe in my life.
Wow.
Because I had a lot of time as a child where I didn't feel safe. My dad was always like, we are just barely getting by, you know, eating TV dinners and just barely making it all the time. And I didn't want to feel that way. And I didn't want my kids to feel that way.
Yeah.
So in saying that, in that blue collar black background, I was really afraid to tell my dad when we started getting really successful. I kind of kept it from him until it became undeniable. Like until really, to be honest with you, we lived in a nice, sweet, amazing 2-bedroom, 1-bath house for a long time with our kids and saved all our nickels and dimes to buy the house we live in now, which is much bigger. And obviously what my dad would call a rich person's house. Like our other house was a regular person's house.
Okay.
And we now live in a really big, really nice house. And that's when I had to go, okay, I think I need to be honest with my dad. That was only 3 years ago.
Whoa.
So
that's
I was
like,
really
have
scared.
you seen those memes that are like, if I win the lotto, I'm not going to tell you, but there will be signs. And it's like, like somebody like sitting on a yacht or whatever. Like that.
Yes.
They're saying your dad's all,
Interesting.
No way. Only 3 years ago.
Wow.
Only
And
3
how
years
did you,
ago.
what did you say? I mean, you don't have to tell me.
Oh, I
if
can
that's
tell you. It was super easy. I said, hey, we bought a house, and because I have so much experience in construction, we remodeled the log cabin, and we built this house.
Yeah.
So I've always bought homes that need remodeling because I can see, like a sculptor who gets a piece of marble and they can see the sculpt.
Yeah.
I can see
You have
that
the
in
eye.
a house. So I like that. I actually prefer that to buying a house that's all done.
Yeah.
So we bought this house, and because it needed a major redo, it was in the scheme of the world an expensive house, but in the scheme of LA, it was a bargain because it was just like, it was a dump. So I was like, I'm just going to send him the listing and I'm going to see if he notices what we paid for the house. And then I'm going to see. So let's just say we paid, just to be ridiculous, let's say we paid $8 million for the house. We did not even close.
Okay.
So I send my dad this listing and he goes, $800,000, that's pretty good. And I went, maybe look at that number one more time. And he goes, oh. I mean, are you okay for this? I mean, is this okay? I mean, this is a lot. And I was like, we're okay. And then I had a little conversation with him after that about how okay we were. And he reacted the opposite of what I expected. So I think if we had gotten rich quick and we had got like a year in, had as much abundance as we have now, I think it would have been a little different. But because, again, that blue collar, he knows how hard we worked.
That's right.
He knows I worked full time in the beginning with 2 kids and managed an apartment building with 2 kids with Bert on the road. He knows how much Bert sacrificed being with our family. He knows how conscientious I was about spending. He knows that when we would go take our whole family back to Georgia to see him, that it was breaking the bank.
Yeah.
And so I think because he was along for the ride a little bit, and the ride took a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, we got to this place of abundance about maybe 5 years ago. And we've been together 23 years.
Yeah.
So he got to see all that build up. So all that I was afraid of, I was really afraid it was going to negatively affect how he felt about me, which is now in hindsight really silly. I am kind of the same person.
Yeah.
Like if everything goes sideways, I could totally move into a trailer park. I love living in those trailer parks. Let me tell you the good things about trailer parks. You know everybody. Everybody.
It's community.
It's community, and everybody's pretty regular at that time. that was the 70s, early 80s. I don't remember crazy riffraff that you hear legends about in trailer parks of like massive drug use.
8 Mile.
No, I did. That wasn't my experience.
Yeah.
And maybe I was too young to see or understand it. But I thought it was awesome. I loved it. And I thought it was cool that you could move your house. Yeah. You don't want to be here anymore? Go down the street. Just hook it up because, tow truck driver, hook that up.
That's right.
Go on down the street. So, I don't know. I loved it. I loved the people and the experience of the people. My dad's always been such an open, friendly, nice guy. That was my experience too. That's what people reacted to, is this open, friendly, nice guy who was their neighbor, who'd do anything in the world for them. And so we loved it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's so good. So I imagine he's more proud than anything.
I think so.
Yeah.
He's very proud. I mean, I'm his only kid. It's me or nothing.
Yeah.
I'm the one shot. So
yeah.
I think he is proud. And I think what he's most proud of is that, I don't know, I think that I am still the same person I was. I really am that girl. I haven't really changed much. And I think that's really what would make him proud.
Yeah.
Is that we've worked this hard, and Bert and I've pretty much just stayed the same.
That's awesome.
You
guys are great. I enjoy you guys so much. I really, really do. And that's why I love learning so much more about how you grew up and who you were. And it just makes even more special knowing you now, because you do seem like that same person. You're very genuine and down to earth. And I mean, the fact that you took time out of your day to come over here and be on my podcast, you're a very busy woman. You're running a very busy business. Like this, you've got a lot of stuff going. You're not just like a producer. You're the day-to-day operations person. Like you're handling everything of what you guys do, and with such grace and still such like joy. You still have like this energy about you that is like, you love what you're doing in your life, and that's nice to be around.
Well, not to be too direct and to the point, but that's all based in gratitude. Yeah. I have 2 words that have carried me through my adult life, and that's grace and gratitude.
Wow.
I named my daughter Isla Grace on purpose. Grace is a very meaningful word to me in so many ways. And gratitude is the foundation of every day for me. I wake up and say thank you every day before my feet hit the floor. Gratitude, I think for people who have a hard time finding gratitude, I think it's because they've had a hard time finding forgiveness.
Ooh.
I think
expand.
I think that gratitude and forgiveness are bedfellows. So in order to feel real, pure gratitude, you have to forgive things and people who've wronged you. Because holding on to being wronged blocks your ability to receive, right? Because you're focused on what's been wronged.
Yeah.
And how do you feel real gratitude if you have a grudge or a victim mentality about something? Or, people are victims. I've been a victim.
Sure.
I've been a victim of lots of terrible things.
Yeah.
And I sit down and write that thing a letter and learn from it. And when you can do that, you may not be grateful for what happened. If you were robbed or something terrible happened, you're a victim. If someone breaks in your house and robs you, you are a victim. That is not your fault.
Yeah.
But you can find a way to forgive the universe, forgive the person who did it for whatever reason they had. You don't need to know their reason.
Right.
But that forgiveness really sets you free.
That's right.
It doesn't set the other person free. And it doesn't excuse the behavior.
Oh, that's so good.
It just sets you free. And when you get set free, you can so clearly see what you're grateful for. Hey, I have a house nice enough to be broken into.
Yeah.
You know, nobody broke into my trailer. Nothing to steal. You want a hot pad and a couple of cans of corn? Go for it, you know? So I don't know, that I really do think those two things are tied together. I don't have a lot of
I've never thought about it that way.
No,
but that's such a like, as you were speaking, I was getting this visual of like somebody's fist clenched, just so like angry, they're hurt. And when you're angry, it's at the end of the day, you're hurt by something, right? And their fist is clenched in this tension. And how can you receive?
That's right.
How can you receive if you're like this?
That's exactly right.
You got to let go and open, position yourself to receive. That's so powerful.
And fill yourself with grace.
Yeah.
With grace. Grace to me means...
Yeah, what does it mean?
It means a poise about how you think and process the world. It means a faith in something bigger than you. It means a surrender to life as it comes to you. The opposite of grace is to fight. And there are times when you have to fight, right? Yeah. But fighting should still somehow be wrapped up in that grace and gratitude. Wow. You know, you should never let yourself be taken advantage of. That's in no way, shape, or form what I mean.
Right, of course.
But you can also stand up for yourself with a grace and a poise and a belief that higher power has your back. Yeah. And that this is happening for some reason. And when you lay, or at least in my opinion, when I lay my actions on that grace and gratitude, I am unhappy for a shorter amount of time. I'm angry less. It lasts less time. And I'm able to move to the next thing. And it is about receiving. You know, ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. That is true. Yeah. But if you are standing still and marred in a place of non-forgiveness, and you can't really do that. There's no surrender. And, you know, I'm not religious, but I love spirituality, and I love stealing things from religion. Yeah. And what would Jesus do is a very religious statement. But if you really think about what that means, if you think about the most amazing being, right, who has a purity of heart and intention, and ask that, what would Jesus do is just a shortcut to asking, what would the most purest intentioned action, behavior, decision, reaction be here? Yeah. That's what I'm going to choose, right? That's cool. And you have to learn to do that. We don't just show up with that. And it's usually not modeled for us. Sure. But just that simple statement, to find some simple state. Like for me, I'm full of them, grace and gratitude. That shortcuts me to exactly what my intention should be, because that works for me. What would Jesus do helps me all the time. Would Jesus scream at someone in traffic? Probably not. Right. You know, Jesus would probably be like, that guy's probably had a bad day. Someone ran over his dog this morning. This sucks for him. It's going to be okay. Yeah. You know? Yeah. I don't know.
That's good. I see, like, when I think of grace, I also think of empathy.
For sure.
Like, to have empathy for someone, you have to be very aware and selfless, you know? To be operating throughout your life and just be about self, like, what do I need in this moment? What, like the person in traffic, you know what I mean? Like, he cut me off. I'm trying to get somewhere. I have to get to work, blah, 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 whatever. But when you're aware of others around you, and it's not just self, you are opening yourself up more to be empathetic to situations like that. And I feel like, to me, grace is another form of empathy for people.
To give people grace.
Yeah.
And when you open yourself up to empathy for others, then you receive more empathy from others.
Yeah.
Right? It's reciprocal.
That's right.
It's just the way it works.
And that's the whole thing about gratitude, that when I first started this podcast, it was really because gratitude is one of my mental health tools that I use in practicing gratitude, but it's not just gratitude changes your perspective, but I believe it really does raise your vibration.
Totally.
From this lower vibrating emotions of anger, resentment, frustration, sadness, depression, anxiety. Like these are like low vibrating. And then when you move up to gratitude, it raises your vibration. When you're operating in gratitude, then you start receiving gratitude. Now you're on this plane right here where it's different stuff that you're bumping elbows with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
I love that.
I love that too. And I think too, I just lost my train of thought. I hate when my brain does that. Oh, I remember now. So I think we talked about this on my podcast briefly. When my kids were really young, I started doing something every day at dinner because we ate dinner together every day, right? What was your favorite part of your day? Mm-hmm. What's the least favorite part of your day? Mm-hmm. And what are you grateful for? And my rule for what are you grateful for was, I know you're grateful for family. I know you're grateful for safety. I know you're grateful. I want to know something that you might think is dumb. Mm-hmm. I'm grateful my mechanical pencil didn't run out of lead. You know, that sounds really silly. But what I believe is if you become grateful for the minutia, it just makes everything filled with gratitude.
Yeah.
So when I say thank you in the morning, everybody already knows I'm grateful for my husband, my kids, my health. And from time to time, I do say those things out loud because I am grateful for them. But I literally say things like, I'm grateful to come here today because I do feel like we're new friends as friends and we are so busy. These conversations in podcasts, I've been reflecting on this myself because I've been so busy. I feel like, even though it's not entirely accurate, I feel like I only see my friends in a podcast.
Wow.
But that's not true. What happens, however, is in a podcast, our intention is different. So we have meaningful, deep conversations. Yeah. Whereas when we go to lunch, we're talking about what shoes we bought. And the stupid guy that cut me off in traffic.
Did you see that movie? Oh my God, it was so good.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a completely different intention and experience of a friendship.
Yeah.
So I've started trying to just reframe how I think about podcasts. I'm so flattered and grateful to have been invited here. It makes me feel like you want to be my friend. I love that. Yeah. It makes me feel valued as a person, not as a personality, but as a person to your person. Yeah. That Anjelah thinks that I'm awesome. Yeah. And I love that. That's cool. I would have done anything to have been here today. Aww. There's no inconvenience or like pause everything because this is the most important thing to me is meaningful conversations with people who have meaning. And guess what? The Target checkout lady has meaning. Everybody has meaning. It's just the human experience is to be shared and to be thought about and pondered and improved upon.
That's so good.
For your own enrichment.
I feel like now I should invite all my friends on to be a guest just so I can have a real deep conversation that we may not have had in a long time. You know what I mean? I'd be like, you know what? We need to connect. We haven't connected in a while. Come be a guest.
Well, maybe not everybody feels that way. I know for sure Bert and I are two very open books. Yeah. I totally believe that if I can watch your life experience and it can enrich my own, that's powerful. That's a give from you and a give from me. So I don't know why, for me, keeping something private, obviously there are things that are private in my life, but like, for instance, Bert and I are starting couples therapy today. He has told everybody and their brother. He has told his podcast, my podcast, our entire office. We were on a marketing phone call today with his agency, and he's like, just so you guys know, we're starting couples therapy tomorrow. And I'm like, dude, Bert, why are you telling everybody that? But the flip side is, why not? We have a happy, healthy, normal marriage. We are 85% amazing. And 15% we are banging our head against a wall constantly around the same wall. And we're like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Let's just go get someone else's opinion.
Yeah.
Do you ever get nervous because Bert is such an open book? And you're an open book as well, but I feel like you have a different filter than Bert does.
For sure.
So do you ever get nervous with, I mean, because on his multiple podcasts, he can say whatever he wants to say. Is it like, what did he say about us this time? What did he say about me? Is there any kind of like... Ugh.
The only thing that really bothers me is when he talks about our kids without our kids' permission.
Okay.
That really bothers me. I made a deal with him in the very beginning of our relationship. You can talk about me as long as it's genuinely funny and it's not mean.
Okay.
You cannot, if you're mad at me, you can't do that. No dirty laundry like that.
That's right.
And he's never really done that.
That's good.
So I think that's because our values within our marriage line up so well that he would never betray something that was really important.
Yeah.
You know, the semantics of marriage and, you know, things going wrong in sex and, you know, that kind of stuff. We all experience that. Yeah. That's not a unique experience.
Right.
So he's never really betrayed anything about me. There's been times where he's said something publicly, like he went on Conan, and this is so public now, I have no problem talking about it, but when Isla got her period, she decided to have a period party, and it was fantastic. It was so girl power. It was so Isla, where she was like, I want a red velvet cake.
Yeah.
All food is red. We're inviting all girls except for these two boys who don't know what's happening. And when they show up, I'm dropping the bomb on them. We're having red wine. Everyone is dressing in red. And I'm naming my cake Jason because I got my period on Friday the 13th. It was just the most amazing
so cute
moment in
so
time.
Creative.
Yes. As a parent, we were like, this is what I'm talking about. Right after that, he had a spot on Conan, and he just said it on Conan. And I was like, dude, that's that's her life experience, and you didn't give her the opportunity to say, I don't want that out there in the world. And I don't like that.
Yeah.
But
did she have a problem with it? Was she hurt?
She did. She was, however, there was such a positive backlash, so to speak. There were so many dads who started DMing, emailing, saying, you just gave me a gateway to talk to my daughter about her period.
Oh, that's special.
And so it became this really empowering moment that we kind of tried to message that to Isla.
Did she see that, or was it still like?
She did. She saw it 80%.
Okay.
Yeah. So she was 80% better and 20% like, don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
You know, don't ever do that again. So, yeah, that's the only thing. I don't know. We'll see what happens with couples therapy.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that
I'm
will
have to tune into his next episode.
Exactly. It's going to be his next hour. He's going to be like, so this is an hour on couples therapy. And geez. But anyway, if it helps somebody, isn't that the point?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. I guess so. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe it's this, but getting back to, we do our gratitudes and our MADtitudes.
Yeah.
Our one MADtitude.
Yeah.
We could go on with multiple MADtitudes, but I like to limit it to just one. What is the thing that's annoying you these days? That's making you mad, give you a bad attitude? What is that thing, that MADtitude for you?
I got it.
Okay.
I don't like when I go to the doctor and they don't know anything about women's health.
Speak on it.
It makes me so mad. It makes me offended and insulted. It insults me. And I don't know how to change it. I don't know there's any way to change it. I'm grateful we have great medical health. I'm great we have great medication. I'm great we have, I'm grateful for all that. I am. But that makes me mad. It's something I can't put down.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so do you mean in the sense of like there is not enough research on menopause and perimenopause? Why do we not know enough? Like in that sense, or like specifically you go to a doctor and they're just like, oh yeah, just, it's probably your ovary is blah, blah, blah. And you're like, what? Or can you run this test? No. Like, that's what I have a friend recently who had some issues, some female issues going on. And she had to like beg and plead to get, well, can I get an ultrasound? Well, you have to do this first and you have to get this appointment done first. Okay, well, when's your next available? In 3 months. So I could be dying, and you won't give me an ultrasound to see what's going on. The fact that there's no way to tell if you have endometriosis without like going in there bothers me.
Yeah, it's bananas.
I lived with endometriosis for I don't know how long. Went to go have my myomectomy surgery, which I talked about on your podcast. But when they went in, I was covered in endometriosis everywhere. And I had no idea. But that surgery ended up taking like 8 hours. It should have been like 3 or 4 hours. But they had so much endometriosis to get out of my body. And I think about like my sister. And I'm like, I guarantee you she has it too. But there's no way for her to go in and get it taken care of. Like,
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. The lack of education is one thing, and that's horrible. And to me, that's a real ethical problem for the medical field. They should be handling that from an ethical point of view, and I don't think they are. But I had an aunt who passed away of ovarian cancer, went to her doctor saying, I would like an ultrasound. And he goes, you just have a hernia. You're just overweight. And she went back 6 months later and goes, something's wrong. And he goes, you just got to lose weight, man. Got to lose weight. And she died at 63 from ovarian cancer and started asking about it. And it took 1.5 years for her to finally get the scan that she needed to be diagnosed. Because there's no symptoms from ovarian cancer. She just was like, I've got this lump right here. And he's like, it's a hernia. You're just overweight. The disregarding of a woman in the medical profession really bothers me. And, you know, I went to my doctor, and my doctor was a woman. And I said, I'm having all of these symptoms post-COVID. I had long COVID, and I didn't know I had long COVID because my COVID settled in my bowels. Oh, wow. So I was like having bowel problems 3 months after I had COVID. It started day 1 of COVID. And never went away. Like, couldn't leave.
Did you attribute it to COVID even 3 months later? Or were you just like, I have this weird stomach thing going on?
I had no idea what was going on. And I went to see my doctor, and she went, I don't know. And I was like, can I get a colonoscopy? She was like, well, you're due one anyway because of your age. Okay. Well, stool sample? Not sure that's necessary.
How much does a stool sample cost to run? $3? Why don't we just run it anyway?
Yeah.
You know, just rule it out. Maybe I was like, maybe I have a parasite. Maybe I had been to Vietnam within that year, and I was like, maybe I got something in Vietnam. I mean, even if it just makes me feel better.
Yeah.
To rule it out. But literally what she said was, I don't know. And I'm like, what? I finally had to go to a doctor in Texas that was a longevity doctor and say I'd had the colonoscopy. I finally had a stool sample. Nothing, quote, nothing's wrong. And they ran my blood work. My hormones were completely out of whack. And she could tell from my blood work, my inflammation was off the chart. And she asked, when did you have COVID?
Stop.
And I told her, and she went, this is long COVID. It is all in your blood work.
Wow.
But my doctor did that same blood work, read that same blood work, and went, I don't know. And I'm like, what?
What's a longevity doctor?
Their focus is to look at your blood work first, all your obvious vitals, your weight, your activity level, your sleep, your productivity, your memory, all your kind of functioning of life. And based on your blood work to kind of see where you're optimized and where you're not. So my perfect example, when I did that blood work, a woman's testosterone levels is supposed to be between 65 and 250. Mine was at 16. So she was like, that's not okay. This is part of why you're feeling so out of whack. So Do I need an Arnold Schwarzenegger dose of testosterone?
Right.
I do not.
Right.
Nor is that her goal.
Yeah.
Her goal is to get me between 65 and 250 and keep me there.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's healthy.
Mm-hmm.
My regular doctor saw that 16 and said, yeah, I'm not sure I'd put you on testosterone for something like this. And I'm like, what? I guarantee
what would
you
it have taken?
if a man had showed up with that kind of deficiency, he would have been put on testosterone immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Today, in California, testosterone for me as a female is a much more regulated substance than the same exact testosterone for a man.
Interesting.
I don't know. Because for me, if I understand it correctly, and I'm sure someone on your podcast will be, that's not true. But as I understand it, as a layman, it's not a necessary thing for me. But it is a necessary thing for men's health.
Interesting.
But I have testosterone in my body.
That's right. Yeah. It's something that we naturally have.
Produce, need, is part of hormones for, I'm sure for men too. I haven't studied men in depth, but I know for women, they all work together. Your testosterone works with your thyroid. That's your metabolism.
Yeah.
And your estrogen and your progesterone have to be at a certain ratio to each other for you to be balanced. Your progesterone regulates your mood, your sex drive. So when you get to a certain age and you're like, I'm tired all the time, don't touch me, and I can't seem to sustain happy, maybe it's depression. Maybe it's just your hormones are out of ratio. And when you look at them individually, they might look normal.
Yeah.
But when you look at the ratio one to the other,
Interesting.
they're way off. But my regular doctor, my longevity doctor, does that.
I need to find a longevity doctor.
I'll give you mine. She's amazing. She now has works in California as well.
Let's
do it. So that's the kind of deep dive that she did that my regular doctor just doesn't do. And by the way, the medication I take to get my hormones regulated, testosterone, everything, is not very expensive. It's very inexpensive. So I wonder if my regular doctor has no incentive to sell it.
Oh. Cost me
$30 for a 2-month supply of testosterone.
Is this
a whole other issue
considered the HRT?
Yes.
Okay, see, because I had another friend two different friends. One is currently doing that and it's changed her life. And her doctor would not prescribe it. She had to go out of pocket and go pay for it somewhere and go find a different practitioner who's obviously not covered by insurance and start paying for it. And it's changed her life dramatically. She's in her early 50s. And then I have another friend who most likely would benefit from this, and she's talked to multiple different doctors through Kaiser, and all of them are female doctors, and all of them have said no, they won't do it. They're like, no, you don't need it. You're too young. You don't need it. You're too young. What?
Well, I asked that question too. I asked this longevity doctor. I was like, what is the long-term effects? Obviously, what is do I have an end date? You know, some people say for blood pressure medication, you shouldn't be on it longer than 20 years, something like that. Is there an end game for that?
Yeah.
And the answer that I've been given is no, because hormone replacement therapy is usually biodiverse, which means it is made from organic means, not a chemical means. So Prozac is a chemical that you put in your body that adjusts the chemicals in your body. But a hormone is something that already exists in your body. Yeah. So Prozac's a foreign object, basically, you're putting in your body. But testosterone's already in my body. Yeah. So I'm just adding something I already make. So in a lot of people, what my longevity doctor told me, shout out to Denise.
Hey.
She was like, your body sometimes will start remaking more of these hormones because now you've kind of kickstarted it. Yeah. It's almost like jumping off a car. You put it in neutral, you roll it down the hill, you pop the clutch, and all of a sudden you're cranked.
Yeah.
And so
that's interesting.
Sometimes that hormone replacement therapy will kickstart your system, especially when you go through menopause and you have everything is bananas after you have a baby and when you go through menopause. It's freaking bananas.
Yeah.
And so that hormone replacement therapy for that meat of the time that you're in menopause can make your symptoms so much less, make your time so much easier. And if you don't want to take it after that, you don't have to, because usually your body will have started kind of regulating itself again, and you don't really need it.
Yeah.
So what she had told me on my first visit, 2 to 3 years is what a lot of people do.
Okay.
And I'm on year 2. And right now, I'm not getting off of it anytime soon.
Yeah.
However, if my blood work came back and she was like, this is all looking really good, I would follow her lead and say, okay, well, let's cut our dose in half and see how it affects your body.
Did you feel an immediate difference when you started it?
About 2 weeks. And yes, it was, first of all, I started dropping weight. And I didn't have a big complaint with weight, but I had put on weight because I was menopausal. I started sleeping better. My sex drive increased. And before I was on hormone replacement therapy, I was very weepy. I am not a weepy girl. I was raised by 3 bachelors in the woods with not a lot going on. I don't got weepy stuff going on.
Yeah.
And I kept saying to Bert, I don't know what's happening, but I just want to sit down and cry.
Oh, wow.
And I would sit down and cry, and then I'd be okay, and I'd feel almost like schizophrenic. So I go, I don't know what that was about. I'm not sad about anything. Nothing's happening.
Yeah.
I'm
Our
just
hormones are wild.
insane. And so that stopped.
Wow.
That just stopped. And you know, if something were going on in my life that justified that emotion, fine.
Sure.
But there was nothing happening. I was like, I'm just like a crazy person. And my kids are now nervous around me because I'm fragile, and they'd never seen me fragile.
Oh, yeah.
And it's okay to be fragile.
Yeah.
And it's also okay not to be fragile when it's not necessary.
That's right. That's right.
So
that's so interesting. I feel like I would definitely want to look into getting my hormones checked, especially coming out of having a baby in my 40s. So I'm already at a season of life where my hormones are naturally changing, and then add to it a whole pregnancy and postpartum, and I'm sure my hormones are just wildin' in there, and I have no clue. I'm just out here being like, got a podcast episode today.
I feel like it might have been Jackie who said it, or a doctor. I don't know. And I don't have experience with having a baby, but I've heard that it takes 2 years.
Yeah.
Post baby, and you're still in the
she's
2
18
years.
months. So
Yeah. So you could still be a little wonky over there.
I definitely feel that for sure. I'm listening to you talking. I'm like, yes, yes, check.
what are you feeling?
What's Denise's phone number immediately?
Right, I go to Emily. What are you feeling that makes you feel like that?
I feel don't touch me. I feel tired. At the same time, though, I will say I have more capacity than I thought I did. Like when I would come home from road gigs before having a baby, I'd be exhausted. I'm like, I don't have time for anything. I don't want to go on a date night. I don't want to do anything. I'm exhausted. When I come home and Rosie's there, I am so present and I'm so in it. I'm taking the first flight out when typically I would have taken like the 11 a.m. or 12 noon flight. I'm like, 6 a.m., 7 a.m., get me home. And I'm right there with her, and I have the energy, and I'm like playing with her and cooking with her and then putting her down to bed. I love doing her bath time, putting her to bed. And as soon as that's done, my body goes, crash, dead. But I'm surprised that I have that kind of capacity. So I say that because, like, yes, I'm so tired, like, all the time. I have no motivation to work out, to exercise, not to get my body to look a certain way, but to feel good. Like, I feel like my body getting stiff because I'm not exercising, but I have no motivation to exercise. And I love working out. Like, I love that. I love feeling athletic. I love feeling like I can move and like fight somebody if I needed to. You know what I mean? I love feeling strong. And I have no desire to do any of that right now. And that bothers me. I'm like, what is it? It's not just a mind, like, make yourself do it. It's not that. It's like my insides are like, I don't know. It's weird.
It is weird. I think you're right. I don't think it's a mind over matter thing. In the phase you're in right now, I think it is something else.
Yeah.
And maybe it's exactly what it's supposed to be. Maybe you're supposed to be focused on Rosie and not that. I know the first 4 years of a child's life are so very important for how they feel about themselves going forward. To have mom and dad really focus until they're 4 is so important. Your brain, if a child has a real trauma before they're 4, it completely changes their growth and development.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
It's a big, those first 4 years are just so important. So maybe in our DNA and our biology, we know that that's the focus, is to get them to 4.
Yeah.
And so because I had very similar feelings, I had no, don't touch me, and workout, schmirk out. No way. A workout for me is pushing the elevator button and going down to the bottom floor. That's about all I'm going to do.
Yeah.
And I was very similar. I was always very active before I had kids. And it was a long time before I got back on that horse.
Wow.
Of really working out and enjoying it.
Yeah.
I loathed it until about 5 years ago.
Wow.
For me, that's extra long, I think. But
what's your workout? What's your go-to? What makes you feel good?
I work out with a trainer 3 days a week. And he is a beast. And it makes me feel like I can pick this house up and carry it across the street.
Wow. Love it.
I love that. He does a lot of
this studio is so small, you probably
I could, right? I totally could. Like a little turtle. Just pick it up and walk across the street and put it back down. But yeah, he works out. He has 3 different types of clientele. Geriatrics, people who are recovering from an injury, which is why I went to see him. I had a back injury. And he coaches the U.S. Olympic beach volleyball players.
Oh.
So
casual.
It's
Casual.
It's like
so similar.
Same. All the same. I am 80 and I'm also a volleyball player. So going in there and watching him train a 6'2" elite athlete and watching their workout and going, he's going to make me do that. It just won't be quite as intense, but it's going to be that. Does something for my brain. It makes me feel like I could pick this house up and walk it across the street.
Wow.
So you see those Olympians?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are any of them single?
Well,
just kidding.
He's heavily into women's beach volleyball.
Oh, shoot. Okay, darn.
But he does have a men's team.
Yes.
And then another single man. And all those men are taken, unfortunately.
Of course. Of course they are.
Story of her life.
I know, right?
What?
But yeah.
Oh,
I don't know.
What are you grateful for these days?
I am grateful for so much. Since we were just talking about working out, I climbed a tree the other day.
Oh, like to
legit.
get something out?
Yeah, to pick mandarins.
Oh,
whoa.
I climbed up in a tree to pick mandarins, and I was like, you are the baddest girl ever. So I'm grateful that I can still climb a tree.
There you go.
At 54 years old.
Come on.
I mean, Bert filmed it. He was on his treadmill, and I was like, I cannot reach any of these mandarins. I'm just going to get in the tree. So I took my shoes up and shinnied up the tree, and he filmed it. He's like, this is my wife. She's 54 getting in a tree. I had no idea. I was like, yes, I got so many oranges. I'm really grateful for that.
That's cool.
That's amazing.
I thought
Did you get halfway up and were you like, oh no, what am I doing? Or were you just like the whole way you're like, no, I got this?
I was like, no, I got this. I think, in that log cabin phase of my life, I was pretty feral. So I was turned out in the yard and left to my own devices. It was 20 acres of woods and creeks and trees, and I never wore shoes. I was pretty feral. Wow. So I think that kind of scratches my little feral itch. In the middle of LA, there's not a lot of, you can't really do that too much. As the person I am today, it's not, I couldn't walk into my office and throw my shoes off and just be nutty. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I feel like,
really quick, How did you get out of the tree?
I just climbed out.
Like you shimmied down?
I shimmied down to the point where I could jump.
Okay. I recently jumped off a swing and I was like, my knees and ankles are about to snap. And I'm visually trying to see you get out of the tree. And I'm like, did she jump in her 54-year-old ankles? How did she do that? My jump from the swing was even like a step.
I was like, you barely
like
jumped out.
Up-a-doo, up-a-doo,
Yeah.
up-a-doo.
I was like, I don't know if I'd call it a jump out of that swing.
It was a little skip. It was like
a shimmy out.
Yeah, I shimmied out of the
Shimmy
swing,
out.
and I thought my ankles were gonna lose it. That's wild. You just okay.
I did. I crawled down to a certain point and then I jumped the rest of it. As a kid, I would have just jumped out of the top, I think.
Yeah.
But no, I was like, I can't do that. Let me get myself pretty close.
Uh-huh.
And then I jumped the rest of the way.
Good on you. Go ahead.
I am really grateful for, I started to say something, but I'm going to forget this one. I decided to plant a bunch of roses at our house, and I love them so much.
Beautiful.
I walk in that yard and look at the roses, and I cut them for myself. My kids cut them for me and put them on my nightstand when they live with us. And that it makes me so happy. Just being in my yard. I'm so grateful for my yard and that rose garden. My grandmother, who I lived with my grandparents for a little bit too, also on a 100-acre farm.
Wow.
When my parents were divorced, there was a time when I lived there also. She was the only person I knew in Georgia who could grow roses. So roses are really hard in Georgia. I think there's a fungus or a bug or something that eats them, and it's just really, really labor intensive. And in California, you're like, throw it out in the yard and it just sprouts. But so roses for me really connects me to my grandmother in a certain way. So I just love that rose garden.
What kind of roses are they? Like
everything, you name it. I have Shasta roses, Betty Boop, Dolly Pardons.
Wow.
Not every rose, but a ton. I have so many different varieties. I have purples, pinks, striped, yellow.
That's beautiful.
Red, white.
I went one time to a rose competition.
You did?
Yeah, in Nashville. We went to, in all fairness, I didn't go on purpose. It just happened to be happening the same day that I went to this park. What is the name of the park? I can't think of it right now. But it's this like acres and acres and acres, and it's a garden, and they have like a bunch of stuff. They have events always. And so I went for just to take Rosie and walk around the garden. And in the little center, they were having a rose competition. Ooh. And so you can walk through up and down, and it was like most fragrant, best bloom, something about the stem. Like it was all these different types of roses, and the people who brought their prize rose from wherever they grew it in their garden. It was so cool. I was like, listen, I didn't think I would be so interested in a rose competition, but it was really like almost fragrant. You smell them, you're like, oh my God, this is so good. Like, oh my goodness. And just like the different colors, like all the different like marbled colors that they created. Like it was just so, so cool. I have a lot of respect for roses now.
They're pretty diverse. You don't realize how many varieties there are, and they don't all smell the same. And,
no, they don't.
And they bloom differently. Yeah.
I love to walk through the neighborhood and propagate, JK. Just like pick. I like to smell all the different ones, and then maybe if one fell to the ground, I will
exactly. If it's on the ground,
help them.
Yeah.
Clean it up for them.
I'm sure you compost it, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm helping. I'm helping.
A week later, it's compost.
Yeah. What else are you grateful for?
I am grateful that my 18 and 20-year-old daughters and I have such an easy relationship. I've never tried to be their friend.
Okay.
I don't think your mom should be your friend per se, but you should have an easy relationship with them. I did not have an easy relationship with my mom. And that was a big goal for me.
How do you do that? Teach me.
I think what I did was the opposite of what I felt was done to me. Like, I was supposed to be ABC. And instead of that, I went, who are you? Who are you? And let me fall in love with that.
Wow. Wow.
Show me who you are. I'm not going to tell you who you are. I want to see who you become. And what about that can I celebrate and fall in love with?
Wow.
I think that's what I intended to do.
That's cool.
I think that's what I did, because my kids are very different from each other, but I really love who they are. I just love who they are, and I'm really grateful for that. I'm grateful, I guess, also that I'm grateful for the way that I was raised from both my parents. Have a great relationship with my dad. I have never had a good relationship with my mom. Don't have a relationship with her now.
Wow.
And I took the good and the bad from both parents and decided to choose what I wanted from that, as opposed to just repeating patterns. I think the opportunity that I gave myself to make a different choice, I'm really grateful for.
Yeah.
I mean, my mom's been married 6 times. My dad's been married twice. I've been married once.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got married once for good. And then the way my mom and I's relationship just was like, nah, not going to work. So I made a different choice.
Yeah.
And that meant I had to go to therapy. That meant I read a lot of books.
Yeah.
That meant I made some mistakes. But the mistakes I made, I decided to reflect on and adjust from, instead of shaming myself about them.
Yeah.
Punishing myself for making a bad decision. That's useless.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't do you any good.
Yeah.
Self-reflection and then course correction is positive for everybody, for you and whoever that relationship was with. So I'm really grateful for that.
Are your daughters open and honest with you? Like, do they feel comfortable talking to you about everything?
I think they are now. I think in high school, like typical teenagers, there was a lot that they weren't going to talk to me about just because they were, 13, 14, 15. And those times, that favorite part of your day, least favorite part of your day, what are you grateful for, was really helpful.
Yeah.
Because then I get a little glimpse into
That's right.
things. But now I do think they're pretty honest. Especially my oldest daughter, she's 20. My youngest daughter, I think once she went to college in September, she was like, oh, hold on, my mom's awesome.
Aww.
But before that, I think she was like, she's so annoying. She just constantly says, can you please pick up your shoes? So annoying. And then, of course, one of the first texts I got from her was like, no one picks up their shoes. And I'm like, part of me's like, I would like to strangle you, and I'm so proud.
Yeah, yeah.
It worked.
Yeah.
If only you'd listened to me 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so I don't know. I think we have a good communication.
I have a friend who she has a teenage daughter, and she was recently telling me about a situation that happened and how her daughter was very honest with her about what was going on. And I was so impressed with the fact that she felt comfortable coming to her and saying this. Because I think back to when I was a teenager, I'm like, there's no way I would have had this conversation with my mom. No way. And I was just like, how do you do that? Like, thinking about Rosie when she gets bigger, I want that relationship. Like, I don't want to be her friend. I want to be her mom. But I also want her to feel comfortable coming to me and having this type of a conversation with me, getting to that age, especially in discovering your sexuality. And like, I grew up with like the purity culture in the church, and like it was shame, and like I don't want that on my daughter. And then this particular conversation they were having was about, her, sexuality, and she's coming into that, and, different feelings that she has. And I'm like, wow, I hope my daughter could feel confident and comfortable having these types of intimate conversations with me and not feel shame. That's I want that.
You know how I think you get that is approaching Connecting with curiosity, not with authority.
Ooh.
You know, we're supposed to be the authority. And in some places we are. Go to bed because it's bedtime.
That's right.
But when there's being curious, asking the 3 questions, favorite part, least favorite part, how did that make you feel? How would you have handled that differently? What would have made that easier? Like those types of questions instead of, well, if you'd only turned it in on time.
Right.
Well, if you just said to her, stop talking to me like that, and let them answer their own question, right? And be there to help them answer their own question.
Interesting.
But it has to be the question, right?
Yeah.
If you tell them, I mean, obviously, pick up your shoes is not a
Sure.
question.
Sure.
I did ask the question, what do you think is going to happen when you have a roommate and you don't have this habit of picking up your shoes? What do you think that's going to look like for you? What do you think it's going to look like for your roommate? Do you think that's going to cause conflict? Now, sometimes I'm asking a question, obviously, that I know the answer to, and that she knows I know the answer to, but I'm not telling her.
Yeah.
I'm curious. What do you think this will look like?
Yeah.
Tell me. Think it's going to work out good? Because I'd
good.
love to hear how you think about that.
That's good.
Yeah.
And sometimes she would tell me, yeah, I'll learn this on my own. Okay, if that's what you want to do, cool. I got you then.
Yeah, as a daughter who I have that relationship with my parents where we talk about everything, and I don't see them as a friend, but I'm still going to be like, oh my gosh, Mom, guess what I found out? But when you were saying the questions, I was like, oh, that's what my parents did.
Oh,
That's totally what my parents did. They were never like, well, you should have done this, you should have done this. They were like, they said more things along the line of, well, what do you think you should say? Or what,
That's
still the pickup shoes, still, I just cleaned the kitchen. Please don't make a mess.
Yeah, sure.
Still those things. But every time I come to my dad or my mom with an issue, it's a discussion. It's not a, you should do this. It's a very much of, okay, well, let's imagine you do say that. Let's play this out. That kind of type of discussion. And I do feel open. I mean, yeah, I'll tell my mom if I got a crush on a boy.
Why not?
It doesn't happen often, but I do tell her. So
That's sweet.
My dad was like that. My dad was that kind of parent. He was I remember him being really young and him saying like, you're going to take this hammer and you're going to hit this nail. What do you think's going to happen? And then I would go, I don't know. And he'd go, well, I need you to think about that. I need you to think and tell me what you think's going to happen. And I'd go, well, maybe I'm holding it at the wrong angle. And he'd go, maybe. Why don't you try a different angle and see how that works? He was never like, hold on, you're holding that nail wrong. Let me show you what to do. My dad was never a mansplainer like that. He was his goal, I think, in parenting me was to teach me how to think. Right? Teach me how to think. If you teach a man how to fish, he feeds himself for life. If you give a man a fish, he's got one meal. I think he very much approached parent. I think that's what our job is to do too, is to teach them how to think critically about life. And in order to do that, they have to come up with it themselves.
Wow. This is all very good.
and I'm like,
I am noting this.
I'm like, and my parents would let me sit in my consequences. Like if they were thinking you shouldn't do that, this will make you fall on your face, they'd go ahead, fall on your face, see what happens. And I think that was super helpful too, because I'm so stubborn and I'm so like, well, I know what's best and I can do it, and then catch me like 2 days later going, okay, so remember that one thing we were talking about? Turns out
you were right. My bad.
Yeah. And the amount of times, just whenever you're saying to pick up the shoes, the amount of times I do something, I organize, I clean something, and I go, ooh, I was just my mom right then, or I was just my dad. Like, oh my gosh. But not like in a negative way. I feel like a lot of people view that as negative, but mine was just more of a, they're onto something here.
Yeah. LeeAnn, before we wrap things up, we listened to a voicemail message. Somebody calls in and tells us what they're grateful for. So Danielle, if anybody listening at home wants to call, this is the phone number that you can call.
747-300-5380. Give us a call.
I love it. That's the best. That's So awesome.
Our friend Gabe Gibbs.
Nice.
I always say the smartest thing he ever did because I shout him out every episode now.
There you go. Gabe Gibbs, that was awesome.
Yes.
Yes. He's a genius in marketing, I think.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Michelle Wielden, and I am most grateful for the fact that my husband and I, we got married in 1998. We ended up getting a divorce in 2007. We were separated for 15 years. I was married to someone else. It was a terrible situation. My children and I were both being abused by this person.
Whoa.
And in 2020 during COVID, my ex-husband, who I'm now back with,
Wow.
saved us from that situation, and life is good. And we're together again, and we've got our family back together, and it took us 15 years, but
Wow.
everything is awesome, and God is good.
That is
crazy?
incredible.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy good.
Yeah.
I agree. 15 years and like going into like abusive, awful situation and then coming back. Like obviously there's a plan for everybody. We do our own thing. And I feel like God or universe, however you believe, is the same way, kind of like how you're saying about your parents. Like, okay, go ahead. If this is what you want to do, go do it. So I don't think it was like God was orchestrating and now you're going to go into this abusive relationship. I think we make our own decisions and then God lets us play it out and directs and guides and all of that kind of stuff. But I feel like when that happened and then she comes back around, there must be like questions of like, oh, I wonder if I should have stuck it out longer or worked it out differently. But I feel like everything happens for a reason and we go and experience these certain things in our life, and this is the ebb and flow of life. But I'm grateful that you and your ex-husband got back together. Like, what a cool story that is.
Amazing. Yeah. Congratulations on being able to learn from that experience, right?
Yeah.
Maybe you learned how much you valued each other or how right you were for each
Yeah.
other. And it just took some really crappy 15 years to figure it out. But hey, as long as you get there,
Yeah, there it is.
that's wonderful. Congrats.
Yeah, congrats. And thank you for calling in. And LeeAnn, thank you so much for coming and being a guest on Funjelah and just sharing your gratitudes and your MADtitudes and just a little bit more about your life and who you are as a person. I've loved this conversation and I'm so grateful that you took time to come and sit with me today. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. And I meant it. I think we are friends.
Yeah.
We just are busy ladies.
Yeah.
And this is an amazing way to spend some time with you. So thank you. I really am flattered that you asked me and moved. So thank you so much. I'm
you.
grateful for you.
Thanks, girl. Thanks for watching. Bye.